So today I want to talk about sort of female spirituality with sexuality, um, and mostly with the orgasm. Um, there's sort of an energy wheel within the bodies, our bodies. So almost if you think of like a wave going up behind the spine, like up the back and over to the head, and it ends and it starts at the root chakra, kind of just above the sacrum, and ends in the mouth. And then there's the other part of it, starts in the mouth and ends at the genitals. And through, if you're more aware of that energy circle, especially when you're having sex or masturbating or just sort of rising that kundalini energy, um, if you're able to sort of harness it and ride that wheel, in my experience, you can actually receive some pretty cool visions. Not like that you should seek this just to be some cool spiritual, like whatever, but just sort of like for your own guidance, like your dreams that you should tune in, and that's your higher self, like teaching you. When we have sex too, and you have that clear enough mental space and are aware of the rising energies in your body, you can, in my experience, that orgasm rise that energy, not just to, the second chakra, which most people do, and then releases out the bottom. You rise it all the way up through your body and down, and it hits your pineal gland, it rains down, it can heal your body, but you also can sort of perceive, females can perceive like a vision, and it's super powerful. It should be almost a spiritual practice. It's been something that's sort of, I think, the male and possibly being threatened by it instead of honoring it is sort of suppressed, but it used to be common knowledge. So the best way to experience these kind of orgasms is to not only just stimulate your lower chakra, like your genitals, your clitoris, your penis, whatever, but also your mouth. It just kind of makes sense that we're really oral beings, but that those two lines, it ends in your mouth, and so whether you're having intercourse and kissing, or oral to oral pleasure, it's actually a great way to create that circle. I mean, you can get creative with it, your finger, whatever, but or even just your tongue touching the roof of your mouth is enough. But to sort of stimulate both of those ends is really powerful, and I think that stimulating the upper part is what can help make it rise. And so if you're interested in kind of trying these types of orgasms, I'd recommend sort of two things. It's like prerequisites, and you kind of merge them together. Is some sort of separate from your sex, a meditation where you're working on calming your mind, so there's no thought, because that's really important with this process, as well as just breathing and feeling that circle of from behind and above, sort of that wheel spinning within yourself, and the breath. Once you're really tuned into that and you can ride that, it really also helps during that sexual experience. And I guess sometimes, with my own experience, usually, with sex, is I'm not thinking about these like holy, things, like enlightened thoughts that you might think that comes with tantric sex. And I'm not really an expert. This is sort of from my own experience, and I just want other females to be able to harness this power, because it's super powerful. Yeah. So you can bring a thought into it, is what I was getting at. Is you can, for me, actually, as I began to see all of this purity and all of these like really dirty sexual things that I felt so much shame for, like, why do I like this? Why does this arouse me or get me off? And sort of with that space, I had these beautiful visions where it's sort of merging, something so dirty, there's something like semen or multiple partners or whatever, and seeing the purity in it. There really is no good and bad, and in sex there's this great coming together. We're all in these separate bodies, but we're this one being that just sort of craves on this level to know that oneness with us. And that's really what the dance of sex is all about. And if it was more commonly practiced as a way of union and opening our minds, and not just this, it's become very possessive too, which me and my partner don't really believe in. I don't think there's this idea that a man finds a woman and that's his and only his to have, and that's not really the case. So I think like marriages and sort of partnerships are there to be life friends and spiritual helpers, but I don't really believe in fighting sexual energies. I think it's absurd to believe that every person that's married or is in a relationship only has sexual thoughts about that person. And the sooner that we can sort of move past that and be more authentic with each other, I think our society could get rid of a lot of its perversion and start really using its magical powers of sort of our body, mind, spirit. But anyway, so I'd encourage just maybe by yourself at first, unless you have a very open partner and you've been intimate with. And I'm not a male, so I don't necessarily, this is kind of a practice recommended for female. But yeah, I would recommend, especially since I think a lot of us are really conditioned with this porn industry, that there's this sexual side that we like partake in and in our heads that is usually never expressed physically. And so take the most shameful thing that you can think of that gets you off and try to see the purity in that. Ask to see the purity in that sort of, and think about that, but also in a whole sort of like a spacious nothingness. And in my experience, the universe will sort of teach you a really profound lesson, not really just about sex, but about all life and all interconnectedness. I'm not going to share my own experiences, and I don't really recommend that for you either. I think they're super secret and personal. If we, maybe eventually when our world gets to a place, this stuff will be more common talk. But yeah, do this practice for yourself, and I would recommend writing down what comes to you and reflecting on it, and using your sex as a great vehicle and a teacher and a way to change yourself, wake yourself up, and therefore wake up the world. Yeah, so thank you for tuning in and listening to what I have to say. Yeah, much love. Until next time.